Working on my family tree, I found these two profiles that look like they might be the same, and I'm not sure what to do. Can you help me? Hi, I'm Mindy Silva, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about merges. Now, how do duplicates happen? They're actually really easy to occur, and there's a number of reasons that can cause them. One of them is a difference in dates. So if you say, "Oh, I don't know what your patients was born," and so I'm going to estimate 1772 based on the child that I found, so that makes her an adult. Then somebody else comes along and has a different child attached to patients, and they say, "Oh, I think her birth was probably about 1780." You've got that 8-year difference, and you're going to have possibly two different profiles because it may not pop one of them up and say it's a possible duplicate. Another thing that can happen is somebody says, "Okay, I have patients, and I know her husband is George Chapman, and I don't have births on either, so I'm going to estimate them." They create patients, they go ahead and they create George. Well, then once people start attaching children, they find that there's another George out there. And as you can see here, Patience has one spouse named George Chapman and one named George Jackson Chapman. So George Jackson Chapman may not have showed up as a possible match for the original George Chapman. Um, the other way is if there's no dates entered at all. Somebody may have created George Jackson Chapman and say put a death date in, but no birth year because they just didn't even know what to estimate it as. So that may not have shown up once again as a possible duplicate. Another reason can be during times of heavy WikiTree member activity is that you can just simply have two people working on the same set of branches and they aren't aware the other one is. So if I'm creating George Chapman and, my cousin's also creating George Chapman at the same time, then we're obviously not going to see the other one. So at any rate, there's a lot of reasons that a duplicate can happen. And normally, once you start making these connections out on WikiTree, you find these duplicates. So once again, here we have Patience Clay Chapman, and you can see that she has two Georges attached. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at both of those. And this is George Chapman, born 1765 in the colony of Virginia, died about 1816 in Virginia. And then the second one, George Jackson Chapman, born about 1766, so the estimate's only a year off. And then the death date also in 1816 in Virginia. So, this is obviously the same man. Now, during that time period, it wasn't really that common to have a middle name on there. So you'd really only want to leave that middle name if you can find a good solid source that says his name was George Jackson Chapman. So at any rate, we know these two Georges are the same. We're going to go ahead and initiate a merge. Now, the first thing you want to do is look at the WikiTree ID number. And you can find that in the upper right in the menus. This is Chapman 1040. Or you can find it up in the URL. The other one is a much larger number, Chapman 25,747. And so this is really important. We want to go to the lower number and click on the scissors and copy that ID. Then we want to go to the bigger number, and this is where we're going to initiate a merge. If there's any comments, and there a lot of times there are when there's a merge needed, you can jump down using the comments button to the merges section. And here we can see we're going to initiate a merge, and we want to initiate it off of the larger profile because this is the one we're merging away. So now when you come to this page, after you've initiated the merge, you can see that the top number is that large 25,747, and I'm going to paste in that lower number. So you're merging ID1 into ID2. And if you do it backwards, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and reverse these two numbers so that the higher number is on the top. If you want to, and you haven't taken the time to look back and forth like we did, or if you really just want to see them side by side to make sure, because that's a lot of details to remember, you can do it this way and click on compare. And now you can see once again the birth is about 1 year apart. They're both in the colony of Virginia. They both have a spouse of Patience Clay Chapman. They married same year, different day, so that date would need to be resolved, but it's still the same person. And they died 10 days apart. So once again, a date that needs to be resolved. But this is George Chapman that was born about 1766. He definitely married Patience. He definitely died in 1816. He definitely died in Giles County, colony of Virginia. Well, actually, Virginia by then. Um, it's the same person, and we don't want to reject or stop a merge because there's a little bit of a date discrepancy like this. You can handle that in the research notes section when you complete the merge. And, it's obviously the same person, and we only want one profile per person. And then, one thing that you're not giving somebody by not completing these merges is look at the two George Chapmans. Now, this one on the right, look at all those wonderful DNA matches and possible cousins. And on the left, there aren't any. Well, that's because the one on the left isn't connected correctly to the tree yet. And so by merging these, you'll take that profile manager and you'll allow them and their other cousins to now see these DNA matches. So at any rate, you can go ahead and look. Now, the children don't match, but here's what I was talking about. About how some of these duplicates occur, because the one on the left is George Chapman, the father of Archibald, and that's the only child they were doing. And some people do like to do just their direct line. Now, on the right, they've gone ahead and added a number of more children. And so, George, I'm sure, is the father of all 5 of these children, and you could check that if you want to before the merge, but really these dates are enough to show us that this is the same person. And so, excuse me, because we agree, we're going to go back up here where it has a little yellow highlighted merge them and click on merge. And go ahead and propose this merge. Now, it will tell you that your proposed merge has been saved and the managers of the relevant profiles have been notified. Now, the other profile manager also needs to be able to look at these and approve this merge. But another thing you might have is somebody like a data doctor or a connector or just somebody out working on Chapman lines come along and go, I see that, Patience has 2 husbands. Let's take a look at this. And so they're going to come down and you're going to see all these comments. Now, I do ask, if it just says this is why we're merging them, please go ahead and archive those comments. Because once they've been merged, you don't need the comment saying ready to be merged, obviously. Some of these are from 2014, and we want to go ahead and we want to clean these up, because there may be a comment that's added that has some relevancy to the profile itself. Say, who the parents are or where a record can be found, and you don't want it cluttered up by these comments. So they're going to come down and go, oh, I see a merge has already occurred. And click on merge. Now, if you've done it in the wrong order, it's going to tell you this. 1040 was created before 25/7/47, so please reverse the direction of the merge. So here you can see you still have the option of correcting the merge direction, but this is really important to do, and it's just better to get in the habit of going ahead and putting the higher number in the top box. The other thing you would do is say there's 2 profiles and you have the last name is Clyde. One spelled Clyde, which is correct. One spelled Clide, which is incorrect. you would take the incorrect one once again and put it at the top, because that's the one you're merging into the other one. That top box is going to go away. So you would want CLYDE in the bottom box. Here we have the merging box. Now this is your chance to make one further check to make sure everything looks the same. And especially if you're one of those that came along a merge that was already initiated and you're trying to help with it. You want to make sure that there aren't conflicting fathers, because it's really easy to accidentally get the wrong WikiTree ID in one of those merge boxes, and then it'll really stand out here. It'll say the father's John Chapman or the father's William Smith, and then you need to correct that. But on this one, the higher number had no parents attached. Now the proper first name is George in both, as is the preferred name, so you're not worried about that. And now here's where that middle name comes in. So you can either choose to mark it uncertain because we didn't see a source that proves that, or you can clear that that middle name, and you can move that down into the research notes and say a possible middle name of Jackson, proof needed. Now current last name is Chapman. No nicknames on this profile. Birth dates are both obviously an estimate. They're only a year apart. It really doesn't matter which one you pick. Birth location, the one on the right, Culpeper, Colony of Virginia, since it's before 1775, is more accurate and more specific than just Virginia. So we want to select that one. Now here on the death date, remember we have that 10-day difference on the death date. So we're going to come down here and see if they had a death record. His will was proved April 30th, 1816, but there isn't a death record. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say he died before this date of 30 April 1816. And then if somebody comes along and finds a death record that says, oh, he died on a different day in April, they can add that and update it. But for right now, we know that he died by the 30th of April. So we're just going to set that as that. And then you can come down. If there are no research notes, you can create research notes. Oh boy, this needs to be edited. You can see all my typos today. More coffee for Mindy. And we're going to put alternate death date. Unfortunately, when you copy it, change your status button, so I had to put that back. And we're going to put a research note that says the alternate death date is 20th of April. Now, this is a further chance to come in and do some cleanup on this profile. So this really isn't a source because it doesn't link to anything, but we don't want to delete anybody's stuff. So we're going to put that as a C also, as a reminder that he was in those census records if somebody wants to go ahead and find them. And then we're going to take this entire will and make that its own heading. And I mean, you can do this cleanup after you merge, but it's nicer to do it during, because sometimes what happens is, you get busy, you got a bunch of merges, you're trying to get stuff done. You may need to wait on something, and then you don't get this biography cleaned up, and you don't want to have these merges occur with a huge mess. Now, let's say you don't have enough time to do more than that, and you can tell that some of that other stuff at the bottom was not an acknowledgement, but it needs to be sorted full through better, and you want to wait and look at the profile once it's completed so you can figure out where to put it. So I've just placed that in research notes so that that data is not lost. If you want to, you can preview the text. and see, okay, all my headings look good. There's a death and legacy section. There's those research notes, some sources. This one's really not a source, so we'll want to take that, find it, and take it out. And then the acknowledgement. Okay, and here's that citation. And then also what you want to look at is this. Now, here you have the text from both profiles. So there's two different ones saying that he was born, and you don't need both of those in there. So we're just going to change that to born about 1765, 1769, and we're going to take that out. And then once we have it as complete as we want it at this point, you want to click on that green confirm merge. Next important step is to go ahead and look at it in the public view. So you want to look once you've merged somebody, and you want to make sure that it didn't create any other duplicates. So he only has one wife. That's good. None of the children appear to be duplicates of each other. Once again, the headings look good. Got that long death and legacy section. Now this will is long enough that you may want to put this on a space page and then just put a link on this profile to that space page. And that way, you know, his narrative isn't unnecessarily long from the or probate records. Here we have those research notes. Once again, you can take the time now. Here's some information that looks like a narrative that should go in the profile. You can move that up. Here's some further notes on how many children he had, who one of the daughters married, your sources. There's that C also we put. And now there's no additional information under acknowledgments except for the fact that Betty Tyndall created it. So, you know, the final thing you want to check is, are there still comments? Because sometimes you'll find that once you've done this merge, there will still be a comment here saying the reason you merged it. And once again, you just want to go ahead and archive that. If you ever do want to look at what was archived to see what the comments were, you can click that here and it will show you those archived messages, which of course we know right now are all just people saying that there was a duplicate. So that would be it. You know, thank you for taking the time to merge these duplicates out here. As you can see now, like I said, there's only one George, and look at, we have all those nice DNA cousin details so that people can try and make matches. We've hopefully helped somebody's connections and made them closer on the global tree, and we've cleaned it up. And, you know, so this is just a really great thing to be doing for WikiTree. And if you do want to go and look and make sure there are no other George Jackson Chapmans, you can go back up to that WikiTree menu and search for matches. And that's going to give you other Georges. So let's look at this one here. We're looking for George Jackson in 1766 in Culpeper. Here's George Chapman in 1765 in Culpeper. And so let's go ahead and compare that. And that's that merge that, that we already did. So it's telling you it has been merged into another profile, and that's why. But if you had found other profiles that were close enough to that you thought was also this George, that would give you the opportunity to clean the tree up even further. So now we come back to Miss Patience, and we see that she only has one husband. Hooray! Congratulations on completing that merge if you followed along, and thank you once again for all of your wonderful work on WikiTree and for wanting to clean it up and make it better. Thank you.